Okay everyone, welcome back to a new video. So originally we were, over the lockdown time, supposed to be out in the 86. Obviously it was cancelled because of the lockdown to take it on track, and throughout there we would have been obviously comparing it to the last track day in the Hyundai Coupe, but as that isn't going to be happening now until next year, thought kind of compare the few things for the Coupe to the 86 I sort of miss and aren't quite as good. So yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, yes, so we've got 5 things to go through, and I'll start off with the most obvious one, number 1, and that's going to be the torque. Obviously, the V6 Coupe had loads of torque absolutely everywhere through the rev range. There's a bit of a different story in the 2-litre Coupe, in the 2-litre 86. Obviously, it has that really bad torque dip if you know about these cars. It's a bit of a nightmare, even Toyota and Subaru know themselves, so you see the dyno readouts. It's a bit of an annoying one. Obviously, I don't know what it's like properly gunning it on track. I feel like it might be a bit better then because you're in the higher rev ranges, but day-to-day driving, it really hasn't got the same effect that the Coupe had. It's definitely one of the bigger things to miss, but that's kind of the one I knew I was going to get into, moving from that car to this, and anything from an engine that size to this, it was always going to be different. But yeah, that's number 1. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, so yeah, on to number 2, and that's going to be the boot. Obviously, the boot is actually probably around the same size. I think with the back seats down, it's actually probably a bit better in this because the seats fold completely flat. The one big problem is this isn't a hatch like the Coupe was, and that makes it a lot harder at fitting larger objects into the boot, which I did have recently because I had to take a mini fridge to the dump. Couldn't fit through the boot and barely fit through behind the back seats trying to get in, so that was a complete nightmare. Obviously when you had the whole hatch roof, I could chuck anything in it, and that was definitely a lot easier for the day-to-day basis. But yeah, it's a lot less convenient this way. Obviously it has its benefits, like I said, for the flat folding, about the same size, but just convenience wise, getting larger objects in doesn't quite work out as easily. But yeah, just one I have to deal with, I guess. Okay, yeah, so on to number 3, and it's going to sound like quite an odd one, but that's going to be the fuel efficiency. Yeah, okay, the fuel efficiency is obviously most of the time a lot better in the 86, especially comparing it to a 2.7 litre V6. The big time though that the V6 Coupe made a big difference was on the motorway. It was kind of ridiculous how good that car was there, and I do kind of miss it on the long trips. Obviously, day to day this is better, but long trips it was ridiculously good on that. Like, I think the best example was the Santa Pod video, if you haven't watched that one. On my, I don't remember if I mentioned the video, but on the drive up there I filled up the car beforehand in the hopes that the range was about halfway, there was about twice what the distance was to get there, so I figured I'd get there with half a tank, wouldn't have too heavy a car, it'd be all fine. Left with 300-mile range, got there with 300-mile range still, so I don't understand how it did quite that good. I get that there's usually some fuel before in the pipe before it gets to the tank, but that was kind of ridiculous how well it did on the motorway. It literally used nothing. But yeah, that is definitely something I miss in the long trips, but I guess it's something that I just have to miss them because of the benefit of day-to-day driving. Okay, and that brings me on to number 4, and that's going to be the cup holders. Sounds like a bit of a silly one, but the cup holders in here are kind of naff where they are. It means that if you've got anything in there, laying your arm in here is not at all comfortable, and I'm always worried about where they are, that I'm going to knock them or I can't see them so they're going to fall over. You have got the benefits of the door bins are quite good for bottles and that, but if you've got a can or anything, I wouldn't really trust it myself, especially if you drive like I do. Probably isn't best idea. But yeah, compared to the Coupe where it just had a good one in the middle for the driver and it had a good one up on the side for the passenger, it was much more sensible laid out. I'm just not a big fan. It kind of gets in the way on road trips, and like I said, the worst bit for me is just how uncomfortable it is in your arm when you're driving. I prefer having the armrest down and just relaxing that way. So yeah, it's a little one, but it does bug me quite a bit. Okay, and that brings me on to the final 5th one, and that's going to be probably the controversial one, but it is the community. Nothing wrong with the community for the A6, is lots of great ones out there. The problem is because it's so much more of a bigger community, there's a lot more haters, and yeah, that can get irritating at times. The one thing I loved so much about the Coupe was because it was such a small, unknown, more beloved car by those that do love it, it was very much just anything that happened with them, everyone was so happy and got behind everything to do with it. Obviously everyone's a lot more behind their opinions of the A6, and if you're not doing what they like to get a bit angry on it. So yeah, it's one of those ones which it's just the benefit, it's just something that comes with the car, you can't really help. But I suppose that's the problem with having a more popular car, is just you get more people wanting to talk to you and complain about what you're doing to it. But yeah, anyway, kind of hope you've all enjoyed this video. It's just a short little one of the 5 things I kind of missed with the coupe. Going talking about it again, as I said, because we were supposed to be comparing them on track. So hopefully next year we will get around to doing that, and hopefully we'll have a few more of the cars from the channel out there too. But yeah, if you enjoyed that one, make sure you do subscribe to see plenty more, and hit like on this video if you did like it. But yeah, until then, we'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.
Cool. Next one.
Yeah. That's the other problem with the boots. You have to be so hard with it.